What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you guys are new, my name is Evan and I make videos about hot stocks, dividends, and options. So if that interests you guys, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload. So in today's video, we're going to go over why NIO is a better buy than most electric vehicle companies out there. Now obviously it comes down to personal preference, but I'm going to give you some good reasons as to why they're a better choice than most other EVs. But today NIO is up just over 2%. Pre-market they opened up just about 1% above yesterday, and then they had a spike about 10 minutes after the market opened. And since that high this morning, they kind of pulled back and stayed pretty flat most of the day. And this is actually kind of interesting to look at is the past week, they're actually down 4.3%. The last couple updates that I've done, they've actually been up most of the week. But this is mostly due to the point in time where this is going back, so exactly 1 week. And it's based on market open of 1 week ago. So if it was based on just a couple hours more into the future, that same day, a couple hours ahead, NIO would actually be up. So even though it is down, it's really not something to be worried about. I would say they've stayed pretty flat most of the week. So it's actually kind of interesting if you compare NIO to the overall market, like the NASDAQ, for example. NIO, as we know, is obviously up a lot this year. They're up over 400%, and that's including this pullback that they've had in the last month. I don't even know if you could really call it a pullback. They just kind of hit a high, and now they're more at a support level. So I guess it is a pullback, but it's not like they pulled back all the way to $13 or something. But even though they've had this small pullback, they're up 400% in 2020. But if you actually look at the NASDAQ, they're officially in correction territory. And if they continue going on the same path that they're on right now, the NASDAQ could actually end up on the bear side of things by the end of 2020 instead of being bullish the entire year. But it might be a little too early to tell. It'd be easier to know in another month or so how the overall market is going to be. But one thing to keep in mind is that we have elections coming up in the US in the beginning of November. And so when there's a lot of volatility and when people think that the market could move a lot, that's when you start seeing these big moves. So I'm not surprised to see the market pulling back because there's a lot of investors who are unsure what's going to happen come election time. And so with this doubt and unsureness, that's why the market is acting how it is right now. And I'm sure most of you guys watch Graham Stephan, but in one of his recent videos, he said that historically around election time, and just in general, September is one of the worst performing months in the stock market. And then next after September is October, and they're just slightly better. After the election happens, I think that's when we should see the market start to stabilize. Because after the elections happen, that's when there's no more doubt and unsureness. We know what happens. Because the market actually looks ahead. So it's taking into account elections, and that's why you see all these big fluctuations. But getting back to NIO, their shares have actually been pretty volatile in the last few weeks. But this was mostly due to a secondary stock offering. And if you guys haven't heard about that, they were trying to sell 77 million shares, I believe. And they got something around $1.5 billion. And so when that stock offering happened, that's when a lot of investors were unsure what was going to happen in the future. And so the stock has been kind of shaky since then. But it's still been going up for the most part. Especially in the last few months, it's just shot up like a rocket. So here it actually says that when you compare NIO to Tesla and Nikola, Tesla shares are down by 16%, but I don't know exactly when this is accounting for. I think it must have been based on the past week, and this article must have been written a couple days ago because Tesla is only down around 10% on the week, and then Nikola has actually lost 40% of their value since mid-August. And for those who don't know, they were actually accused of fraud by Hindenburg Research. And so they lost almost half their value just since mid-August. And if you look at their chart, in the last month, they're down 51%. And over the last 3 months, they're down 71%. But now you might be wondering why NIO is able to hold their own so well. But it really comes down to actually being an established company. Now, NIO hasn't been around super long. They were only founded in 2014 and then they went public in 2018. So they've only been on the market for 2 years. But unlike a lot of other EV companies, there's probably hundreds that you haven't even heard of. But where NIO stands out from all these companies is that they actually deliver vehicles. And each month they've been increasing their vehicles more and more for delivery numbers. with August actually setting an all-time high. And then there was predictions a couple weeks ago that in September they would hit a new high as well. And for me personally, I think going into Q4, each month they should set even higher delivery numbers than the previous month, leading up to December. But NIO also increased their numbers despite the pandemic that's been happening. They had a 104% increase from this August as compared to last August in 2019. And so you can imagine what would have happened if this pandemic wouldn't have been around. So it's good to see NIO actually fighting through something like this and being able to withstand a big world event like this, because it shows that they're going to be around for the long term and they're not going to get knocked off the map within a couple years of being founded. But their founder, William Li, announced that their capacity to produce vehicles is going to be increased to 5,000 units per month. So at least from September through the end of the year, I don't think it would be crazy to expect them to get very close to that 5,000 unit number. And they did recently close their secondary stock offering, and this further helped enhance their balance sheet and optimize their capital structure. And through this, they were able to accelerate their technology development as well as their autonomous driving. And they're hoping to expand globally using some of this money from the stock offering. And one other benefit that NIO has over other companies is that their primary market is China. And China is the biggest market in the world. And so if they can climb this ladder and become like top 5 or top 3 EV companies, that's when you're going to see NIO take off. Right now, Tesla is leading the way, but NIO is working on all these other things that Tesla doesn't even have, like their battery swap stations and their battery as a service. I just wish that they had come up with these earlier, because then they could actually be competing more highly with Tesla. Right now they have quite a few years to catch up, and I'm sure within those few years Tesla is going to come out with new and better technology as well. So it just would have been better to see them come out with these battery swap stations a couple years earlier than they did. But it's good to see them at least producing them now, because it's better late than never. And it definitely gives them an edge over other EV companies. Maybe not just Tesla, because Tesla is kind of the top dog everywhere they have vehicles. But NIO also expects that their carbon emissions are going to peak by 2030, and then their country would be carbon neutral by 2060. It's hard to say whether those are actually achievable, because that's pretty soon. But China does have a lot stricter government and a lot stricter rules than the US, so it's possible. But in order to actually hit this goal of being carbon neutral by 2060, China would need a lot of their fleet vehicles to actually exchange over to electric vehicles. And I think potentially in the future, the government would put in a rule over in China to make any fleet vehicles electric only. So that would be like your taxi services and your police and any company that has a large number of vehicles that are out on the road. So these are just a few reasons why I personally think NIO is actually better than a lot of other EV companies. Now, I don't think they're actually better than Tesla yet. Some people would argue and say that Tesla is worse than NIO and that NIO is better quality and everything. But I think if NIO was producing the amount of vehicles that Tesla was, and they were mass producing their vehicles, they would have quite a few more issues. And I don't think quality would be quite as high as it is right now for NIO vehicles. But it also comes down to preference of whether you want NIO or Tesla, because a NIO vehicle, if you've seen the interior, it looks very luxurious, but there's a lot of buttons and everything all over inside the vehicle. But if you compare this to a Tesla vehicle, everything is done through this tablet in the middle of your car. So there's hardly any buttons in the vehicle, and so it's more minimalistic. So it comes down to preference of whether you want minimalism or luxury. But I think Teslas are still very luxurious as well. A lot of people buy them just because they're luxurious and they don't really even care that they're electric vehicles. But anyway, let me know what your guys' favorite EV stock is down in the comments. And do you think NIO is one of the best, if not the best right now? So let me know down in the comments. Also, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the like button, because it really does help out the channel. And with that said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you back here in the next one. Bye.